Imagine waking up in total darkness. Your chest is heavy, your arms stiff, and every attempt to scream is muffled. You realize with horror, you've been buried alive. For centuries, this was not just a nightmare. It was a very real fear. And out of this terror came one of the most casually used phrases today. Saved by the bell. That's right. The expression you throw around when your teacher calls time just before you're caught unprepared, or when your boss ends a meeting before you're grilled. It comes from something far, far darker. The desperate attempt to avoid premature burial. In the 17th, 18th, and even 19th centuries, medical science was, let's just say, not always reliable. Comas, seizures, cataleptic states, and diseases like cholera often left people looking dead when they were actually alive. And what did grieving families do? They buried them, quickly. Gravediggers and mourners sometimes heard scratching from beneath coffins days later. When opened, the dead were found twisted, bloody, and clawed, victims of a fate worse than death itself. This wasn't just folklore. In 1896, a French medical journal recorded 219 cases of premature burial, 149 cases of accidental live dissection, and 10 cases of bodies being embalmed alive. Chilling, right? Enter the bizarre innovation, the safety coffin. Wealthy families, terrified of burying their loved ones alive, installed a small bell above the grave, attached by string to the corpse's hand. The idea? If the dead person revived underground, they could tug the string, ringing the bell above their grave. A night watchman or cemetery guard, often called the graveyard shift worker, would patrol, listening for the haunting sound of bells ringing in the night. Hence, saved by the bell, a phrase once soaked in dirt, fear, and desperation. But here's the creepy twist. Not all stories had happy endings. Sometimes the bell rang, but by the time the watchman dug down, it was too late. Other times, bells mysteriously rang at night, triggered not by the buried, but by natural causes like gas release, shifting soil, or animals tugging at the strings. Imagine the horror of being the night guard, surrounded by random bells ringing in the darkness of a graveyard. So how did a phrase so macabre become part of everyday slang? The transition came in the 19th century, when boxing adopted the term. In a brutal match, if a fighter was nearly knocked out but the round ended, the bell literally saved them from defeat. The public loved the phrase, and it spread quickly into everyday English, detached from its coffin-ringing origins. By the 20th century, Saved by the Bell found its way into schools, workplaces, and pop culture. A student unprepared for a tough question? Saved by the school bell. A meeting running too long? Saved by the bell. The phrase became so normal that most people have no idea they're casually referencing a terrifying 18th century death prevention device. Think about it. You're scrolling TikTok, watching videos until your boss walks in, and suddenly your phone pings with a fake, important notification. Saved by the bell. Or you're in an awkward date, about to reveal too much, when the waiter arrives. Saved by the bell. Every time you use it, you're echoing the fear of ancestors who literally fought the soil above them, tugging desperately on a rope to a tiny bell in hopes of another chance at life. So the next time you sigh in relief and say you were saved by the bell, remember, you're not just talking about school bells or boxing rings. You're invoking the haunting memory of coffins, graveyards, and desperate hands pulling strings in the darkness. And that, my friends, is the creepy origin of one of the most common sayings in English.